how Mumford and Sons kind of broke their promise to producer-engineer Mark Howard. They promised him big things, but they quickly moved on. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Sometimes you have, and I find this when I interview people, because in my case, when I interview someone who's younger, they're always saying, when's the interview coming up? Because sometimes, I mean, yours won't take long, it'll be a week, but anyway, they're going, oh, when's the interview coming up? And they'll drive me freaking crazy. They'll go, my fans are waiting. And then I'll put the interview up and because our interviews do really well, but they'll get like 25 hits because their fans hit, but that's okay because they're young and they're starting off, and I understand, but they drive me crazy. But you had said like people like Mumford and Sons, who were maybe fighting a little bit amongst themselves, but sometimes it's the younger groups that are more difficult, right?
Yeah, a lot more difficult because they all want to sound like so-and-so. And so I'm about making new sounds and creating a sound for them. But we want to sound like this record or whatever. And so I met them in Los Angeles here. They played a club, Hotel Cafe, them with three other bands. They're all touring together. And so I met them outside in the alley. And so, their whole thing is, what was it like with Dylan? And so they were excited. And then they said, will you come work with us in England? And it was just before Christmas. So I said, yeah, they didn't have any money. They didn't have a record deal. They didn't have anything. So I went and they managed to find somebody to give them some money. And so I flew to England, and we worked at Metropolis Studio, and it was a cool place. And so I'd come up with this technique where I was using like an 808 kick drum because he's usually got like a kick drum on stage that he just kind of, it's a four on the floor type of thing, but I switched it to an electronic one. It sounded really killer. And I kind of rearranged some of their songs, and they were, yelling at each other and like, they can't do that. Oh no, I'm going to do whatever. They're like little children. And so I recorded it there, and then I had to mix it. And so I just thought I was there just, trying, the deal is if they got a deal, they'd hire me as a producer. And so I said, yeah, sure. And so I didn't get paid. I just went there to kind of like work on that with them. And then once I got there, and after I recorded everything, they wanted me to mix it. And so we went to Olympic Studios. And so I get there, and U2's upstairs in the studio, and I'm downstairs mixing them. So on a break, I go upstairs, and there's, Eno and Bono, and Dan wasn't there. And so the guitar tech took me in there and said, Mark's here. And oh, yeah, Mark. And they go, where's Daniel? And I said, I think he's in Jamaica. Well, that's a good place for him. He wasn't there, finished the record with him. He's in Jamaica. Anyways, yeah, so that was kind of fun. And so it ended up, I didn't know it, but that was an EP they made. And so they were selling that EP, and they got signed from it. And they said the record company didn't want to have me. They wanted to pick the producer. And so they picked the producer that did these Bright Eyes records and stuff like that. So I got them the deal with this EP, and fired, out of the deal for producing their records. And they came out of the box pretty big too,
Yeah.
Like next thing you know, the biggest thing. I would like to add, this is my new book, and I would like everybody to buy this book. And this is a great coffee table book. It's got beautiful pictures, black and whites. And this is all the icons I work with. And I want you guys to have this book and buy it. And then in the meantime, this is my first book, Listen Up. And if you want if you get this book, read this book, and then you buy this book, you can see everything I've described in this book about. And this is all the beautiful places that were made, the records with all those beautiful icons.
Links to both of Mark Howard's books are in the description where you can pick them up. One is the storybook, basically telling the stories about working with all the greats: Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, Tom Waits, Tragically Hip, and so many more. So we'll have links to both books. Like I said, the first one's the storybook. The second one is basically the pictures book. We've showed you some pictures in the videos. Links to that and a lot more. If you want to help the channel, there are links. Subscribe. Check out our podcast. It's a fairly new podcast. It's doing really, really well, and you can hear a lot of our full interviews on our podcast. Share our videos and podcasts, and like, comment. We'd appreciate that. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.